Episode 28, and this one is a first for me for the podcast. I'm out here in Las Vegas attending the SHOT Show, which is essentially a tactical convention. It's very similar to the ATA show that I was able to go with Dudley, focusing around archery. This one is more around hunting and shooting. It's an interesting crowd, to say the least. But while I was out here, an individual reached out to me a few weeks ago named Dakota Meyer. And for those of you unfamiliar with Dakota Meyer, he was a United States Marine and is one of the few living Medal of Honor recipients from either the war in Iraq or the war in Afghanistan. And we were trying to figure out a way to link up to have a conversation face-to-face instead of doing it remotely. We both realized that we were going to be out here at the SHOT Show. So we decided to sit down, and we were finally able to link up and be able to do that. He has a podcast also called Owning It with Dakota Meyer. And obviously you're listening to this podcast, so you know what mine is called. But we did one recording, and we're going to share it between the two. So he actually asked me a few questions to start off with, and then I asked him some towards the middle. And I'd say we spent an equal amount of time talking about myself and him talking about himself. And it was a very interesting conversation. I'm not going to take anything or tip my hand at all as to what we discussed. But I'll just say that I was very surprised in how he approached, or not how he approached, and his thoughts and the impact of receiving the Medal of Honor. For those of you not in the U.S. that might be listening to this, the Medal of Honor is the highest award that can be bestowed upon a military member. Most often, the individual does not survive the event when they receive this award. It's given posthumously, but not in this case. And we didn't really talk about the event of the day or the events of that particular day in which he was awarded this medal. So I'm going to read this citation right now just so there's a little bit of context, and I think it'll make sense why we didn't necessarily talk about the specifics a little bit later on. So his Medal of Honor citation reads, "The President of the United States, in the name of Congress, takes pleasure in presenting the Medal of Honor to Corporal Dakota L. Meyer, United States Marine Corps, for service as set forth in the following citation. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the repeated risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty as a member of Marine Embedded Training Team 2 TAC 8, Regional Corps Advisory Command 3 TAC 7 in Kunar Province, Afghanistan on 8 September 2009. It's a lot of military jargon and acronyms in there. Kunar is up in the northeast of Afghanistan. He was attached to a mobile training team. I would want to say advise and assist, but I don't know if that's exactly the right word, but they were paired with Afghan fighting forces. When the forward elements of his combat team began to be hit by intense fire from roughly 50 Taliban insurgents dug in and concealed on the slopes above Ganjgal village, Corporal Meyer mounted a gun truck, enlisted a fellow Marine to drive, and raced to attack the ambushers and aid the trapped Marines and Afghan soldiers. During a 6-hour firefight, Corporal Meyer single-handedly turned the tide of the battle, saved 36 Marines and soldiers, and recovered the bodies of his fallen brothers. 4 separate times he fought the kilometer up into the heart of the deadly U-shaped ambush. During the fight, he killed at least 8 Taliban personnel, evacuated 12 friendly wounded, and provided cover for another 24 Marines and soldiers to escape likely death at the hands of a numerically superior and determined foe. On his first foray, his lone vehicle drew machine gun, mortar, rocket, grenade, and small arms fire, while he rescued 5 wounded soldiers. His second attack disrupted the enemy's ambush, and he evacuated 4 more Marines. Switching to another gun truck, because his was too damaged, they again sped in for a third time, and as turret gunner killed several Taliban attackers at point-blank range and suppressed enemy fire so 24 Marines and soldiers could break out. Despite being wounded, he made a 4th attack with 3 others to search for missing team members. Nearly surrounded and under heavy fire, he dismounted the vehicle and searched house to house to recover the bodies of his fallen team members. By his extraordinary heroism, presence of mind amidst chaos and death, and unselfish devotion to his comrades in the face of great danger, Corporal Meyer reflected great credit upon himself and upheld the highest traditions of the Marine Corps and United States Naval Service. And I don't know what else can be said beyond that. So here we go. Episode 28.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north and south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
Hey everyone, I'm Dakota Meyer, and you're listening to Owning It, and I'm here. Me and Knives are out here at SHOT Show. We're hanging out. It's a pretty crazy, incredible, crazy place. We had a crazy day today, right?
Oh, yeah. First time in Vegas.
Yeah, Knives' first time in Vegas. Big deal. Big deal, Knives.
I dig it.
Right, and so we are set up here at the Venetian, beautiful place, and I want to thank Mr. Adelson for hooking us up with a beautiful place to stay. And we have a great guest on. I've been trying to get this on. I've been watching this guy for a long fucking time.
Which is a mistake. We can start with that.
How crazy he is. So we're here with Andy Stump.
Yeah.
And it's PF, not PH, not phone book, right? Let them know. Yeah. It's Andy Stump.
Correct.
Now I have to emphasize more on it because they said they can't hear it over the Kentucky.
Little drawl in there.
Little draw. But no, man. Hey, I appreciate you coming on with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having the time, man.
No, it's awesome. It's awesome. He's got a badass hat on. I got to tell you something right now. For you all who can see the video on this, he's got a badass hat on.
I'll get you one. We got you covered.
I usually don't look at hats and say, hey, I need one. I'm like, golly. Like, usually I look at people's hats and I'm like, that's a shit hat, right?
Yeah.
And, man, that's a badass hat.
I'll get you one. It's, I'm a believer that I've never had a unique idea in my entire life. I just do things that smart people recommend. And a buddy of mine was like, hey, man, you should make a hat for your podcast. And I was like, let's make a hat for the podcast.
That's badass. So what are you doing out here?
I've actually come to SHOT a few times throughout the years. Obviously, coming from the military background, there was reasons to come out for that. Although while I was in the military, I didn't ever come out for SHOT. I think I was just a little bit too busy working. But post-military, I got linked up with some brands. I always loved jumping, skydiving. I never base jumped when I was in the military. It was expressly prohibited. So I followed the letter of the law on that one. But when I got out, I was able to pursue it the way that I wanted to. And in that pursuit, I was introduced to some brands. One of them was 511 Tactical, which is a footwear and apparel brand, which most people would associate, I think, with law enforcement, first responder type stuff. They actually make quite a bit of cool stuff, and started a relationship with them that began very slow and is now a ambassador / consultant type deal. And they asked me to come out for this type of event, and here we are, man.
And they actually, 511 is really unique, right? I mean, I just went out there and Tom Davin, right, a great guy. He was a Marine.
Yep.
And I went out there, and I didn't know this when I went to their facility, but they actually showed us that 511 was actually started by a rock climber.
Yeah, Royal Robbins. The story, it's
incredible.
It's 511, if you strip away the tactical, is the rating difficulty of a climb, a traditional climb. And at the time, that was the toughest. Things have progressed since then. I think they're at like 515D now. Yeah. So maybe not a great foresight in the actual name, but it draws its origins from a set of pants that a guy made to handle, I think it was the Yosemite Valley.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then they got a pair of pants into the FBI Academy, and I think that was what really, that was the flick of the big lighter that built it into the company it is today. It's a cool company. So you came out to the Orange County area and saw the HQ?
I did, and Tom's done a great job of rebranding it too. I mean, he's came in and done a great job of just, of showing that it's more than just law enforcement, military, right? I mean, that's what I used to associate it with, of just, you look at that guy and you're like, yep, he's military. Yeah. He's wearing 511s. Yep. We used to call them shoot me first pants.
It's if you know what you're looking for, you look like a neon sign flashing. People think that they're doing the right thing, and I guess it's cool if you have 16 pockets and you can always get to your concealed weapon.
Put snacks in it.
Sure. Or lose things. What I do. Like you do this number all day long. But now their stuff is, it's cool, and the text on the inside, which is to me the sign of a brand headed in the right direction. Yeah. You can wear your tech on the outside if you want to. In my opinion, personal opinion, it makes you an asshole.
Yeah, but, I am with you. Like the guy that carries the 1911 on his hip.
Yeah, just cover it up, So
hey, man.
They're heading in the right direction. And I actually, one litmus test for me in my life, we all have limited time and bandwidth. I refuse to modify the things that I do. So the brands that I work with organically show up, and I just wear their stuff all the time, and it's awesome. And I've never been a law enforcement dude ever. The stuff, it's cool.
No, that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
so,
man.
so you were a Navy SEAL. What team were you with?
I was a SEAL. I retired. I do easy things now. I'm no longer driven or hungry or, I don't know if I ever was. But
well, you had to be.
I started on the West Coast. I started at Team 5, pre-9/11. Shortly after 9/11, I screened and went to East Coast SEAL team. From there, came back to a tour as a BUDS instructor, which I think probably was – I wasn't looking forward to that tour, but it was probably one of the most rewarding tours that I had.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
I found out in that period of time, the 18 months that I was there, that I really loved teaching.
Yeah.
And it was cool once you realize these young kids, like, there's almost two types of instructor. There was the guy who was like, I'm going to be the dude with the chip on the shoulder. And he would yell, 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 yell. I think I did 18 months without ever raising my voice. And ended up working with a ton of the guys that I ended up putting through training. But if you look at those young kids and recognize that you have to work with them at some point and you got them at a moldable, malleable place in their life, it's so rewarding to teach them and then see them later on in their career super successful. And it's like, that's what I'm talking about. You know?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I always look at the leaders that were the most impactful on me, and it was never the ones that were yelling at me. It was never.
Well, if you talk quiet, it forces them to listen.
It does.
If you yell at me, I'm like, my wife could tell you this. If you yell at me, I'm like, huh? What'd you say? Whoop, in one ear and out the other.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea. I should learn that.
Yeah, it doesn't always work. But, so I did the BUDS instructor tour, and then I picked up a commission at the 12-year mark. So I was enlisted for the first 5, officer for the enlisted for the first 12, officer for the last 5. Went to SEAL Team 3, did my last deployment with them in 2010, and then medically retired as I was the operations officer at the training detachment that manages all the training for the West Coast SEAL teams.
That's badass, man. So you got out 2010,
it was interesting,
right?
Yeah, last day of June 2013.
Last day of June 2013. You got out then?
I did, yeah. Almost 5 years.
Wow.
It's been a piece. It's been a minute.
How was it? So how was it getting out? So tell me how it was getting out.
I was going to ask you
right?
the same question because I have a feeling we have a similar experience. I really struggled for about 18 months. Yeah. And I struggled with what got me was the news. In that time period, 2013, right? Like, I knew a lot of the guys who put a lot of sweat equity and blood equity into like Fallujah and Mosul. Oh. And then right when I got out, all of that was unraveling. Oh, I know. So I would sit in front of the TV, and it's hard to describe. And I know that you know what I'm talking about. But you hang up a uniform one day, right? And doesn't mean you're a different person. It's just you get different clothes, and it was tough. And it's
different camouflage. You turn into your civilian camouflage.
Yeah, and I look back. I always tried to separate. I wouldn't say my sense of self-worth, but I tried to separate myself from my occupation. Mm-hmm. But there was a little bit of a degree of overlap, and there was some sense of that, like, is that all I'm ever going to be? Like, that's what I've done for my entire adult life.
It's that identity.
It was tough. So I struggled with that a little bit. But like I said, I always try to maintain objective, but if I'm being totally honest, I think everybody, and it's driven from ego, right? So everybody's ego has a little bit to do with that. So it was a little tied to that. And then watching the news and realizing I can't do anything about it anymore. And I didn't have a sense of purpose, I guess. And then a buddy of mine recommended doing some fundraising to support the families, and literally it wasn't like a light bulb moment, but I was like, wait a minute, okay, my time doing this stuff is over. Even if I was given a choice, I would want to be shoulder to shoulder with the guys, right?
Oh, 100%.
But I can't. But if I could support the families, and I look back and I see my own family with 3 young kids and a wife that was with me through all of this, like, yeah, that did help when I knew that there was a backstop. Mm-hmm. So I can help the warfighter do their job by helping the families, and that to me was an important turning point in my post-military life. And it took me a minute to get there, though. In about 18 months, I really struggled with, like, who am I?
Yeah.
I have deep conversations with myself in the mirror.
Yeah. who are you looking at me, right?
What am I going to do next? And what is next? I mean, the military is great for a lot of things, the structure and discipline, and there's a lot of room for personal growth, which people I don't think realize. And I should say, in the community that I came from, there was a lot of room for personal growth. I don't have any experience with coming up in a conventional military pedigree. And to be honest, and I've said this and I try to say it every time, I think the conventional forces have a harder job than what I had. Because my job was very targeted. I knew what I was going to do. I could train for it. And then I'd be overseas and I would see these guys who were getting forced to the limit of their capability with gear that was not up to the task, that they weren't necessarily trained for, but they needed a body to do it. And that was, and like and I would look at the difficulty and see the geometry of all the things that were happening, and it was tough, man. Like those conventional forces, like that's no joke. Like it's harder. It's actually harder than doing what I did. It might have been a harder pipeline to get to what I did.
Yeah.
But the job and occupation itself.
Yeah. As a conventional force guy, right? Like I'll be honest. Like I always used to get frustrated at you guys because.
Was it the hair?
Well, I mean, I think it was actually the incredible good looks.
Yeah. It's they issue those.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was frustrating for a guy on the ground of, I'm 4 U.S. guys and 80 Afghans up there, and we have to. It's not just we don't just go hit a target. I mean, we have to maintain so much of the political piece of it.
Well, because you're living there full time.
Because I have to live there, right?
Yeah.
And like, you guys come in and it's like, you do the hit and boom,
and you're gone.
You're gone. And
disrupting where you have to live, and most of the time you have to handle.
And I have to handle the shit that you all come shit where I eat. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we try not to do necessarily that.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like
I know exactly what you're saying.
I mean, it doesn't like I'm not saying you guys are doing anything bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you're coming hitting this target, but I mean, the next morning, I mean, I can remember times of getting up.
Yeah.
And the people at our front gate, these guys come in and they come and they at night and we're kind of like, I don't know how many times I sit there and I'm like, I mean, y'all didn't tell us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Y'all didn't, y'all just come in and hit it. And it's kind of, and
it's an interesting balance.
It is. But, I mean, I understand, like, you got, and the other thing that I think that is forgotten so much, and I know, look, nothing against, the Spec Ops community or anything, but, you guys always have the assets. I mean,
you'd be surprised. Not always, but we get it often than not.
But what I'm saying, though, is like, if you guys need them, you might not have them all the time, but if you guys are in the shit, they're coming.
Correct.
You know what I mean? I'm not saying you go in everywhere with assets, but I'm saying like if you guys hit the shit, assets are coming.
If you hit the red help me button, like the earth stops spinning for a little bit until they can move things into place.
It does. And and you guys got priority over everybody. And
actually, I don't know if they do. I think we might have it in planning, but like listening to the radios overseas and you hear people getting to ticks. I mean, I think they push assets.
No, I know. So in my battle,
the
reason that we didn't get air support that day was because the priority there was a tick with Spec Ops.
Was there? They were stuck in it,
and so they they're the priority on that. So that was one of the big issues. But I'm just saying, so it's kind of like it was always frustrating to see like you guys not only it's like we should get the assets because you guys got better training. You know what I'm saying? Like you know what I mean? It's like you see what I'm saying? Like it's kind of a frustrating. It's kind of a frustrating deal. But it is always interesting to see the different dynamics of like how you all see the battle space. Because you guys just come in. I mean, when the thing is you guys are if you guys get on a bird, I mean shit's hitting the fan. Like you're going to get busy. Us, most of the time we're patrolling and trying to keep the peace.
Yeah, it's I experienced, I would say, a little bit of what you were living through. Like in 2010, the East Coast team I was at was in the JSOC realm.
Yeah,
and that realm was get on the helicopter, operate at nighttime unless there was a very compelling reason to operate in the daytime, and we'd be in and out. And we would see the secondary and tertiary effects. Because believe me, like you go to Iraq and these guys keep coming to the
that's what they keep saying.
Yeah, because we're in and out, right?
Just tell us that you'll tell us when you come, and then like we're trying to set these deals up. Like no, we'll come to you before we come do anything.
We don't know those guys.
Yeah, we don't know those guys. Are you kidding me? How do you not know? You're the Americans. You know everything. Right?
Yeah. So we did that, and then at Team 3 back in fast forward to 2010 after my time at the other command, we were living. I mean, I lived for 9 months in Zabul province, and we were doing much more of the key leader engagement stuff. And we would have to, and so we would see that as well. So because we would go out and operate and come back, and they would knock on our door.
Yeah.
And we were partner forced up, whereas I think it was a 2-to-1 at that point, or so I get what you're saying. And so even in Spec Ops, like the constraints and I would say a lot of it is best word is bullshit you have to deal with.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you guys were force-fed it.
Yeah,
but
hose.
But it trickles in. I mean, like the conventional SEAL team role changed from a very kinetic, direct action mission set to a key leader, and like so everybody started feeling that pain, except for a little small community over here.
There's two groups that did never feel it.
They shouldn't have to.
No. They should.
Yeah,
they should.
But it is those guys at those commands. I tell you what, when you're there operating, you're not thinking about the secondary and tertiary effects, and you'd be a better operator, and it would change your behavior, in my opinion, if you did spend more time thinking about those things, because we could ruin 8 months worth of your work. Because guess what? And most people would be surprised to hear this: military intelligence. It's not always accurate.
Yeah,
I've been to some houses where the guy was not there, and the neighbor was just pissed and went and reported on his buddy, and like it causes problems.
Oh yeah. It was really over that he took the guy's goat.
Yeah, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Or generational, because that's another thing people don't understand. An affront to a family. Oh, that's cool if it's 30 years down the road. Payback's still coming.
Yeah. Yeah. They don't forget.
No.
I'll tell you a funny story about military intelligence. So I was on an Afghan post.
Where you were in Afghanistan, right?
Yeah,
Where were you?
Kunar province.
Yeah,
up
in the northeast.
Right above Asadabad.
Yep, J-Bad and A-Bad up there.
Yeah, so I was right above Asadabad in the place called Asmar. So Bostic. Hold on, wait till you get out.
Kunar is no joke, man.
Dude, Kunar.
Yeah.
You know, Fob Bostic was just north of us, so we were between Asmar and Bostic, and I'll never forget, man. So like our base was guarded by the Afghan security forces, right? So they're just, I don't even know how. Like thinking back, I don't even know how the hell I even went to sleep knowing that those guys were guarding. I don't know how many NDs. Like,
ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, right. Like I guess it was like, well, I guess But I'll never forget one day we're sitting on base and we'd been start getting intel that we're gonna get overran, and so one day at the COP, they're sitting in the COC and people start freaking out. They're like, we hear them, we hear over ICOM, they're giving grids that they're located here, and they start plotting it, and it's around every base, all the way around the base.
Oh wow.
And we're like, holy shit, right? So I'm running around like we're
it's on.
It's on. Like it's like, well, but I knew something was up because I'm looking around, I don't see them, and everybody's getting their shit on. Everybody's freaking out. Come to find out, because they're like they're saying they're moving weapons in and this and that, and we're like, holy shit, man. And next thing you know, we look around. And the Afghan security guards were just putting weapon systems in their post, new weapon systems in their post. So it was our own guys, and they were listening to our own guys, and that was the intelligence that we had. It was the guys that were guarding our base because they used the ICOMs.
Yeah, they're just listening to their buddies who are 20 feet away. God, how... If you haven't lived it, it's not going to be as funny as it is for you or I, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And you're like, okay, this is what I do for a living professionally.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like but that's the times it questions you. Like, this is what I go do hits off. This is what I go. This is what I live and die off of. No, it's all good though. Look, they hey, it is what it is. It's all good. It's all good.
It was an interesting experience.
Yeah, it was interesting. But we survived.
Yes, for better or for worse.
Yeah. That's still to be decided.
I have to agree. Yes, I'm not sure where I net out on that one yet, but
we're trying.
Yeah, we're moving forward, man, for sure.
So what do you do now?
It's actually my least favorite question because I actually don't have a good answer. I'm at a phase in my life where I'm just taking opportunities where they come up. When I was really young, I knew what I wanted to do, and it wasn't until more towards the tail end of me not being able to do that job anymore that I realized, all right, I need to figure out what is next. I know I don't want to work in an office space. I just would not fit well in that realm. So I knew I loved jumping, so I spent about half of my year doing the professional skydiver and base jumper thing. About another third of the year doing this type of stuff, consulting, working with the brands. Been hit up quite a bit recently to do public speaking, which I've been doing for a couple of years. Again, never any desire to do that. And a buddy reached out one day, hey, come speak at my company. I'm like, okay. a guy who was sitting in the audience said, "Hey, come," you know what I mean? That's just
Yeah,
it snowballs like
yeah.
that.
So you would ask him the question that he didn't like.
Yeah, he doesn't like it.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it. But I
Because
think
I don't have a great answer.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
I mean, what's a great answer though? Like, I mean, do you think would it be a better answer like if, yeah, so I go 9 to 5 McDonald's.
I mean, at least I get free chow.
Yeah.
You know, I like the fact that I don't have an answer, and I like the fact that it's on me. All my income is $10.99.
Yeah.
And I describe it to people as it's the freest prison you'll ever be in.
Yeah.
I get to move the walls. And if I don't like the warden, I can go have a talk with him anytime I want to. But if it gets too tight, that means good. Light a fire under your ass and go out there. And so I'm just, like I said, it's like I love teaching. Public speaking to me is just, that's all it is teaching.
Yeah.
I have some simple rules. One, I never talk about myself. I never tell war stories because if you want to go watch, you get entertained, go watch a movie. I feel obligated to take the lessons that I learned from amazing people and pass them on to make a difference in the country.
Yep.
And it's a great medium, and people will listen because of the military background. Otherwise, I'd just be some random dude up there talking. I try to tread very lightly on my military time and never lead with it, but it helps in those environments because they will listen.
I mean, I think it's important. Like I'm gonna tell you, man. I think that look, no matter what. I mean, it's that military time is what gave you the skills that separates you from them.
It is.
I mean,
it is really all it is. I mean,
it's the difference between you and them sitting. I mean, that's the only thing that separates. That's the only thing that you have that they want. You know what I mean? Is what skill sets you got, because they can never be. You know, they're never going to get that, right? I mean, that's what you provide them and educate them is the lessons that you learned in those times. You know what I mean?
And what's crazy, well, maybe it's not crazy. What I have found is that it's not necessarily even teaching them new lessons. It's public speaking is like marriage counseling. If you haven't gone, you should go because it's fun. But so
I hope it's more effective.
Yeah, a husband and a wife can sit there, right, and say the same shit at each other for 10 years. But if you put that neutral third party in the middle that repeats something that one of those two said, the other one, so they're like, I get it now. Like teamwork. I don't have a unique definition for teamwork. It's the same as it is in
it's the same
NFL.
Shit.
We did it differently. That's all. It was the application.
Stakes were a little higher.
Yeah, but same principles.
Yeah.
So when I get up there and talk to an organization, most of them have advanced business degrees, and like they know what teamwork is. I just explain it how we implemented it, and they go, "Oh," I'm like, yeah, you knew this. You just fail in the execution, not in the application, not the understanding. And it's just, it's cool. It's one of the things that I like to do because you see the light bulb come on.
It's rewarding.
And it is rewarding, and I think at the end of the day, I like what I'm able to do because it helps me. If I was to pick one goal for myself, it'd be I just want to make a difference, right? I want to make the world better than the world that I was born into. And my kids, I want them to be better people than I am. And the only way you can do that is through leadership. And that is the message that I just try to reinforce with people. It's mentality. Leadership is about mentality, not your position. You know damn well it's not about rank.
No, man.
Yeah.
or degrees.
Yeah, rank is not going to get you to risk your life. No. You know, and but inspiration will.
Yeah.
Respect will.
Oh yeah.
You know, and those are the lessons that I'm a very. The unique thing about me, I consider myself a very average person. Like I give my military career a C across the board. What's unique about me was the people I was surrounded by. And the stuff they taught me. My parents did a great job, I think, with a moral compass. And then I got thrown to the wolves voluntarily.
Yeah.
I signed the dotted line.
But
those wolves, the sharp teeth, they teach lessons.
Well, you could have chose the sheep, but you chose the wolves. Yeah. I mean, you still got thrown there.
Yeah. And it's but those sharp teeth, man, they teach lessons that last a lifetime. And it really, like you said, there's not that much separation. From what I've seen with my own eyes, the people that succeed and the people that fail, there's not that much separation between the two. They both generally have the same amount of knowledge. It's between the ears, though.
I think it's in the chest. It's the ones
heart
that don't quit. The heart.
Yeah.
I'll take somebody with heart over somebody with skill and brains.
Unless it's brain surgery. Well, then I want somebody with skill and brains.
This is the Navy SEAL that comes out of it. Here's the Navy SEAL.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm like, all right, well, maybe my mechanic needs to know, too, some stuff. No, I hear you. But at the end of the day, when things go bad, even in those examples, a brain surgeon or mechanic, it's the heart that's going to pull you through, that gets you to keep going when things aren't going your way so you can see it through and be successful.
It is, and it's just a difference of people who quit and who don't.
Yeah. that was also interesting as a buds instructor. It was just cool to see the other side of the coin, because as a student, you're like, what are we?
What is it
what
like?
Are we doing this
tell
for?
me. I want to know. I mean, so what is it? So what is it like to be on the instructor side of it?
There's a picture. I forget where I saw this, but it's a buds instructor standing there with a cup of coffee, with a water hose, pouring it down a dude's face who's doing flutter kicks, and that experience is more fun than being the dude who's having the water poured on his face. So from a pain position, it was much more pleasurable. But the cool thing is that you got to spend time with people who threw the towel in. As a student, when somebody quits, they're just gone. Like, where's Bob? Bob's gone. You never see Bob for the rest of your life. As an instructor, they got to do some paperwork. I mean, it really is, all you got to do is raise your hand and say, I quit. Ring a bell 3 times, which is more, it's symbolic than anything. And there's paperwork, obviously, because it's the bureaucracy of the Navy. You got to fill all this stuff out, but it takes a couple of days. So I actually went out of my way to go sit down and talk with the people who were quitting. Not because I was doing some weird sociology experiment. I basically wanted to weaponize their issues against the other students, because I considered it to be a very serious job and we're looking for serious people. And so I just so what was it? You said you wanted to be a SEAL. You said you wanted to do it your whole life. What changed? Yeah, what happened? And almost every time it was they just got overwhelmed by the totality of what was in front of them. They thought of their world as being very big. And the advice I was given as a student, right around the Hell Week time period, they were like, listen, and this is from people who made it through, they're like, the week sucks. We can agree on that. But don't think about the week. They have to feed you every 6 hours. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I can tolerate quite a bit for 6 hours. And then they leave me alone, essentially, for 30 minutes to an hour, and I get to eat. Recharge 6 hours at a time. Well, you do that 30 times, dude, you're done. And so that really was it. It was big world versus small world.
Yeah.
It was almost always the difference between quitting and living with regret. Because I've actually met quite a few of the students who quit when I was there, and regret would be the single word that I would use to describe how they feel about the choice they made in that moment. In a moment, and they'll have that, and hopefully they can get over it, or maybe they can't, but that's how it was. It was how they approached their world. And if it got too big, done, through the towel.
Yeah, that's what I always do. When shit goes bad for me, I'll bring it down to a day. I'm gonna get through the day.
Yep.
And shit gets worse for me, I go meal to meal.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can keep going hour to hour. All right, cool. I'm gonna get through this phone call. I'm gonna get through 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, it's somebody once told me, said, how you eat an elephant?
Bite at a time.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
Right? One bite at a time.
And it's funny, people always ask me about mental toughness. Are you born with it or can you train it? And the only answer is yes. You're born with it and you can train it.
Yeah.
A big part of mental toughness is how you approach and set your goals.
It is.
And that can be taught.
Yeah. I mean, look, nobody, I don't care how tough you are, can take Hell Week and look at it the entire week and get through it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think everybody, it's how they tackle it, right? Their mindset of tackling. So what do you think's harder in buds? Do you think it's more mental or more physical?
You hear people a lot of the time say it's all mental, which if you're running around with a telephone pole and a boat on your head, I'm not levitating those things. So there's a huge physical aspect of it. But
anybody can be physical. Anybody can.
The students who arrive there have been tested and have the physiological capacity to graduate. From a contractile potential or endurance, whatever it is, they have what they need to do it. So there is a level of physicality that is required, and it is very hard. But, and maybe a couple students per class won't be able to pass the run or the swim time. So there's some of that, but most of it, vast majority, I'd say 80th or 90th percentile, is quitting. And it's anybody can make it through a day of buds. Any man or woman can make it through any one day. Just like any man or woman could take a piece of 80 grip sandpaper and swipe it across your knuckles once. Can you do it 180 days straight? That's what's hard about buds. It's the grind. Every day you're like, okay, because the first swipe, it's a little bit red. Then a week in, it's bleeding. 5 weeks in, you got infection, but you just gotta grind your way through it. That's a
good perspective. That's a good way to put it.
That's what's hard about buds. It's not the day, it's not the week, it's just the whole thing. It's designed to be a kick in the balls. And we don't teach the mental, keeping the world small versus big, because and I don't think we should. I think we should later on in training, but there has to be a phase where.
Can you expand on that? I don't know what you mean by that. Keep the world small versus big.
Small goals versus, so having a macro goal being I want to graduate buds, but a micro goal of I want to see the sunset tonight. So we don't teach that, and I think it's important that we don't, because we're looking for people that I think naturally gravitate towards that, and because those are the ones who can grind. Like they just can grind it out.
Because you got to do the same shit in combat. I mean, you have to do the same shit when everything's bad. I mean, you can't look at the whole situation because you'll lose your shit. I mean, you can't look at a whole deployment. You have to look at it as, there are times where you're like, I just have to get to that rock. I just have to get. Yep. You know what I mean?
I used to do this on long patrols. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
We got to walk 15 clicks just to get there. I'm gonna walk to that house over there, and then I get to the house. I'm going to walk to the bend of the road. All right, bend of the road. I'm going to walk to the base of that hill, and I'm not even going to remember that I have to walk over that hill in a few minutes.
Don't even talk about that, right? I mean,
it's that's it. It helps me in my life too. I have shitty days just like anybody else does.
Yeah.
And I literally, in all honesty, fall back onto, I just tell myself, let's just keep going, man. You have kids. I have kids. Finding Nemo, right? My daughter, she'll say, "Dad, just keep swimming." I'm like.
Hey,
but it's the same principle, right? In a kids movie, just keep swimming.
My buddy, I would call him brother, Rob O'Neill.
Yeah.
He always said that he just tells himself, I'm going to quit tomorrow.
Yeah. Get through the day.
I'll just quit tomorrow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'll just quit tomorrow. That's what he said he thought of getting to it. It's always intrigues me on how people got through those times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it's an incredible thing that given those techniques I think are so important.
Yeah.
To have.
And they're impactful. So, it's a simple. It shows you the power of your thoughts too.
It does.
It super small word to yourself, or just when it sucks, just keep going. You're gonna be all right. It changes people's lives when they hear you say that. And it's like, I would, go slap your parents. They should have told you.
I think what helps me the most is putting in perspective that, look, it's just a moment in time.
Yeah.
This is not forever.
Yeah.
It's a moment in time.
I agree, man.
I think that's what's always helped me. So how do you get into base jumping? So I want to know. Tell me.
I know. So I get this text. It says, "Will you teach me to base jump?" And
from who?
From you. I'm like, well,
I figured if anybody was going to do it, it should be you.
Yeah. I would actually point you into people's hands who are far more capable. I'll come film it for sure. But my response is yes. ... But there's some things we need to do first.
Actually, I think what you said was high risk.
Yeah, high consequences.
High consequences. And I think I responded with, so is getting married.
True. In general, yeah.
Right? Is that what I said?
It was exactly what you said, yeah. So base jumping is much like skydiving, except it's from a static object. The acronym BASE stands for Building, Antenna, Span, or Earth. Skydiving, the gear looks it looks the same to a lot of people, but it's very different. The parachute systems are different. They're designed different. And if you want to base jump, which I'm not going to say that I think people should base jump. I think you should live your life however you want to. You get a lap around the track and fill it up. But if you want to base jump, you have to learn how to skydive first. And it's more so how to fly a canopy. Because either of those activities, hopefully, will terminate in a canopy open over your head, especially if you want to repeat the activity. You can do it once without opening your parachute. The second time is a bitch after that. So start skydiving. And I hear people at drop zones verbalizing before they've ever done a jump, I just want to get enough jumps so I can go base jump. And to me, that's a very bad approach to take.
Yeah.
You've watched too many YouTube videos. It really is that, because YouTube doesn't show you a decade that goes into a stunt, which is what a lot of things on YouTube actually are. It's not like, hey, a random moment that happened in time.
They're highlight reels.
They're highlight reels that are coordinated and they're edited. And if you know what to look for, you can see it. And I know some of the people who make them now, and I'm like, dude, I know how much work goes into this. That terminated in a 60-second video that people are going to try to repeat, which is not their fault. They're idiots if they're trying to repeat it, and they're going to reap what they sowed if they skip the experience part. So you got to start skydiving, flying your body, flying a canopy. Then, I think a safe threshold for base jumping, I'd have to ask my buddy Miles, who is the guy who taught me. 5. I mean, he also has taught a guy who had never jumped before. He said he would never do it again. Maybe 500 jumps. And that actually will take you a couple of years. Unless you work in the sport, like you're teaching jumping or doing tandems, 500 jumps for most people is about 3 years.
How many do you get a year?
At post-military, it accelerated. I think I had 3,500 jumps when I got out of the military. I have 7,000 and change now. 500 to 600 a year. I mean, it depends. Some months I'll get a ton, and I'll go a month without jumping and then dive right back into it. But I can go to a drop zone and crank out 8 in a day. No problem.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever had one where your chute didn't open?
Yep. Yeah. Malfunctions happen on your main parachutes, I think statistically about every 860 jumps.
So you've had a few.
I have. And they're not that big of a deal. The reserve on a skydiving parachute is packed by an FAA certified rigger. It's a pretty good process and structure in place. So I only pack the main. It will malfunction. Even if you pack it properly, eventually something weird's going to happen. I mean, it's fabric. It's like folding. If you can fold a T-shirt, you can fold a parachute.
Yeah.
And then you get some spaghetti strings that you stuff in a bag and hope for the best. The reserve is not packed in that way. It's laid out with clamps and like they inventory their gear before they start. They inventory their gear after they start. Like it's a very structured process. But the first one's pretty emotional. It's an emotional event, and then get a little bit more experience under your belt, and you're like, okay, I know how to deal with this. Another one will happen again. You execute your procedures again, and what really I think it is you trust your gear. Like, okay, this is going to work. I know that if I execute my procedures properly at the right time, I'm going to be okay.
And what do they say? Like I always heard, like whenever someone asks, like, how long do you have to pull your reserve?
Yeah, it depends on how high off the ground you are.
No.
Yeah.
I got a better line for you. They told me.
Yeah, the rest of your life.
The rest of your life?
Yeah. I hear that one all the time, too, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like if you have a problem, you have the rest of your life to figure it out.
Yeah.
Recommend you get on it.
I recommend you make it a priority.
Yeah. But a lot of this stuff, it's a decision. Like, if this happens, do that. And it's really, okay, that looks terrible. I'm going to get rid of that terrible-looking parachute and fire my reserve. And the gear, I mean, main parachutes, yes, they malfunction, but there hasn't been a main malfunction and a reserve malfunction that terminated in a fatality in quite some time. It's not the gear that's killing people.
It's the lack of experience.
Well, it's poor decisions. Like they'll wait too long to cut away. And then if you die because your reserve didn't have time to open, that's not your reserve's fault. That's, but people look at that, because I said that, I was like talking about gear on another podcast recently, and people are like, well, I went and looked at the stats and no, look at this one. This guy died. I'm like, yeah, but you're not a jumper. You don't know what you're reading. The guy initiated a cutaway at 400 feet. Your reserve can't open in that fat. Like, that's his fault. That's not the gear's fault.
Yeah.
And mains are designed, they're going to malfunction at some point. That's why you have a reserve.
So what, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine. Like, first off,
you start slow, though. By the time you get to, I had 3,500 jumps, 4,000 jumps before I put a wingsuit on.
And how's that? So I mean, that's a whole other ballgame. So base jumping,
it doesn't suck. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, you're flying face first at 120 miles an hour. If you really got the suit powered up, and you can fly close to your friends in the skydiving world, which almost every picture of me, I have a shit-eating grin on my face. I tried not to smile, but I'm just like, whoa!
Yeah.
It's awesome. And then the base jumping, you can get in that suit and you could fly away from objects and try to get as far out, or you can fly close to the ground and play slalom with trees. It's you pick your poison on that one, and the consequences that come with that poison. But it's really, I mean, it's really fun, but it has to be respected, because you can get bent out of shape in those things pretty quick.
How hard is a flying suit?
They're not that hard from a physical perspective. You get a little bit of shoulder until you have they're muscles that you're not used to using. It's mostly like your shoulder just kind of driving the suit up and pulling the wing forward to keep it tensioned. And then pressing down into the air a little bit. But after, you do 50 jumps, you won't feel your arms anymore. It's not bad. You can relax in the suit if you want, and it'll fly itself at about probably 60% of what it's capable of doing. It feels like lying on an air mattress.
So how do you, okay, I understand the military part of it, like where you start jumping, but how do you just say, okay, I'm going to put a flying suit on?
The guy who taught me to base jump would not shut up about him. And I had seen them around the drop zone, and on the ground you're unzipped and it looks very cumbersome and uncomfortable, because it is cumbersome and uncomfortable. But he just was like, dude, these are awesome. You guys showed me videos. I'm Miles, if it'll shut you up, I'll try it. And then I tried it. I was like, God damn it, I should have tried this 10 years ago. Should have tried it 10 years ago. So it was cool. And it's like rediscovering a new sport. It's totally different. You're tripling your amount of time that you're flying or falling. And you're managing your forward speed. Like it was a whole different discipline, and so it was a whole another like resurgence of a love for the sport or activity.
And so the other question I have is like, how do you figure out how do you figure out like, okay, here's where I can go? I mean, I can't just go. You know what I'm saying? Like I know it sounds dumb, but how do you
know you're gonna make it?
How do you go find somewhere where it's like, okay, like I can fly down this, and then I can still have enough room to open my chute, right? I mean, that's kind of a big deal.
Well, there's some trailblazers out there that are constantly out looking for new exit points, and the community, skydiving community is very small. I don't actually have any numbers, but maybe 1 million skydive in the U.S.
Yeah,
maybe, I don't know. The wingsuit base jumping community is microscopic in comparison. So if you get to know the right people, there's a lot of beta being passed around, and nobody's out there like, hey, I hope you die. It's the opposite. Like, let me give you some local spit. This is what I found. In the hopes of keeping you alive. So the trailblazers are out there doing most of the stuff. For me, I'm not really interested in like going crazy remote backcountry, and because it's all eyeball based. There's no gauges. It's all tactile sensation in your suit to determine how fast you're going and listening to the speed, and you're gauging angles and distance just through your eyes at 120. And sometimes people don't quite judge it correctly, and they make dents.
So tell me a scary time.
When I am base jumping, I'm scared every time. I mean, and the second that I step to a ledge and every alarm bell in my body is not going off and I'm not terrified and there's not a little pee ring on my shorts, I'm gonna quit right there, because it is dangerous. And yes, you're essentially committing controlled suicide that you have to work your way out of, and it has to be respected. And that fear is an important mechanism to keep you centered in that moment.
Yeah.
And that's, again, complacency is what kills people in that world most often as well. They just do it so much and get so accustomed to it, from what I've seen. And I just can't imagine being in that spot, because I'm freaking terrified.
Because you don't even need a reserve for base jumping.
There's no time for it. You pack your own parachute, you get one.
And have you ever had a malfunction on that?
I've had some twists on opening, which are controllable, but I've never had anything structural where like the gear wasn't functioning. Even with the twist, the parachute was flying straight. I was actually able to turn it and land back towards the grass field instead of towards the trees I was flying towards. Those are emotional events.
I bet.
Yeah, conversations with yourself about life choices when you're laying on the ground after that. Like, what am I doing?
So why push it? Like, why? I mean, didn't you take enough chances?
Yeah, that's a fair question.
I mean, why? I mean, you got. Yeah. That's what I want to know. Like, what are you seeking deep down?
I don't know if I'm seeking.
What does it satisfy? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm trying to get at, right? I'm not saying.
It's a fair question.
You know what? Why do you? I mean, why put yourself through those emotional times?
It makes me a better person. It's a fair question.
Wow.
It's fair for people to say,
wow.
You have a family, you have kids. And my kids see me doing this stuff. I've flown over them in Switzerland in my wingsuit and then landed right next to them under the canopy, and they're like high-fiving. To them, they're like, "Oh yeah, Dad's just doing his thing." Like, and it's fair for people who look at the things that I choose to do and say you're taking risk, because I am taking risk.
Everybody takes risk.
What I'm not doing is gambling, though. But for me, the mental place I get myself into when I'm on that edge. I've been married for 17 years next month. We've had an argument or two, right?
Wow.
Sometimes when you're hiking up damn cell phones, like your wife can call you and you can have an argument on the hike to a base jump. The closer I get, I start putting my gear on, that fades away. 1099 income, like I was saying, it's free prison. Some months are better than others.
Yes.
As you start zipping up and you start stepping to the edge, that fades away. And I'm not worried about my checking account balance or whether or not the check for the mortgage is going to clear or bounce. And the closer I get, every aspect of the bullshit that I wade through and we all struggle with, right? It's gone. And it's and I've read books about it, they describe it as the flow state, and I used to get it on helicopters at like the 1 minute out call.
Yeah.
Like your world is just right here. Laser-like focus, and what I find is when I jump, and I can get to that spot, it pulls back the levers on a lot of other aspects of my life that have nothing to do with jumping. I'm more compassionate with my kids. I am more patient. It pulls that stereo equalizer bars back from the 10. And I don't know if I've always been like that. I don't know if I'm seeking that or driving that, but it's just, for me, I find it to be very fulfilling and very empowering. And in addition, I want my kids to see people living life. Like, I know it's dangerous. My wife knows I might die doing that stuff. My kids know that. And that's okay, because I would rather go out doing that, showing my kids that you can do whatever the fuck you want to do and live your life however you want to live it, to the level that you want to live it, not what other people say, than be 80 in a room with somebody wiping my ass going, I wish I would have, fill in the blank.
Holy shit.
So, yeah, that's why you should not swing suit base jump. That's me. That's what I get out of it. Some people want to be YouTube stars. You know? That's not what I'm there for at all. What I like is going and doing jumps without a GoPro. That's where you're going to find out. Like, if you have to have 6 on you, maybe you're in it for the wrong reason. Go jump a couple times without and see if it gives you that same sense of fulfillment. And if it does, whatever your passion is, then I think you're headed in the right direction.
Man, we think nice.
I think that you're coming from a really well level-headed approach to all this. Like, you've had some time to process all this.
Yeah,
because you hike a lot.
Yeah,
it's like 3-hour hike for a 90-second flight. You can think about some shit in 3 hours.
At first, I thought you were kind of going towards like this. It's a pure escapism.
Yeah,
but
not even really.
But it's really more of a centering.
Yeah, it lasts for months afterwards.
One jump.
One jump, probably not. That'll have an impact, but if I try to go to Europe about 2 weeks a year with close buddy that I jump with from the military. I'm very selective of the people that I go into the backcountry with in any environment, because if I go with you in the backcountry, you are my responsibility. If something happens, I will fucking get you home. And I will only jump with people who have that same mentality. And you'd be surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised.
Nope.
There's a lot of people who don't have that mentality. They're like, hey, bro, see ya, you're on your own. That's not my jam. So it's I go on those trips, spend a couple weeks over there. Like, I'm a different person when I come back for a long time, and it helps. And it helps you see through the BS, man, because you're living in that second, and that's all you got is that second, and maybe the next 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish everybody had a chance to experience that. Maybe they should find a statistically safer way to experience that, as opposed to following what I'm doing. But it's impactful. And I think you can get that experience. Go to the gym. Just go outside and do something visceral and physical. Mm-hmm. Put the phone down from looking at other people's pictures of doing awesome stuff and go do awesome stuff.
Man,
you know what I mean? Like,
go do awesome
stuff. Don't like a picture of somebody doing something cool. Go do something cool that somebody will like the picture of, and you'll get into that moment, and it'll change your life. I have found it. That's one thing I would change about the culture in the country right now is you need to get out and struggle and grind. So, and for me, I can do that and have an awesome time on the way down.
That is
hiking downhill sucks. Flying downhill is awesome. Hard on the knees, you know. I guess base jumping could be too if your parachute didn't open. That'd be very hard on the knees. But
that'd be very hard on the knees.
So what about you, man? I mean, like, what do you do now? I'm always interested to talk to people, and obviously your background is unique too. It's I would imagine you're post-military. Some things about what happened to you in the military have probably changed your life. So, I mean, what do you do now?
You know, so I'm kind of like you, right? Like, I hate that question.
Yeah. It's a rough one because...
You know, it is because, like, you know, I think whenever I talk about it, I don't think it's rough in my mind because I know the grind and the time and the effort it takes to put in it. But I think if you don't say, well, I'm some executive here or I do this, like, people kind of, like, underestimate, oh, well, he doesn't have a real job. Well, I guarantee I work... I know I put double the hours in of what people who work a real job.
When it's on your shoulders, all of it, soup to nuts. Yeah, 40-hour work week. Come at me when you're at about 80, son.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
now the difference might be that I might put that 80 in. You know, I might put 120 hours in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. I just. So it's different. So what do I do? You know, I got out and I had the struggle of transition too. I mean,
what was the hardest part? What do you think caused you, or not caused you to struggle? What do you think enabled, or was the root cause?
I didn't want to get out. I mean, I didn't want.
Did you have a choice?
I did. I knew it was time for me to get out because of what happened to me, and I had a bad chip on my shoulder, and I knew I would be a cancer to the military, and I was at the point to where I was in a leadership role.
Yeah.
And I knew that would not be good, right?
What was the chip from?
My leadership failed me.
Yeah.
My teammates are dead because of my leadership, and
it's a pain that'll never leave you for the rest of your life.
It is, and I think I could deal with it. But the problem, I honestly, I felt like the joke was on me, and I literally bought into all the gimmicks. Like, it wasn't like "Leave No Man Behind" was not a T-shirt for me, right? Like, it was etched in my every moral fiber of my being.
Yeah, you didn't open a fortune cookie one day like, damn, leave no man behind.
No,
got it.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't that. The brotherhood was not like. And, I always live with this mentality of, if they wear the uniform, whether it's U.S. Army, U.S. Marine, if it says U.S. at the beginning of it, if they wear the uniform, they will live and die by that same code. I truly believed it.
Yeah.
Every mission I went on, I never worried about, would somebody come get me? I never did. And, I felt like after my deal on September 8th, when I watched so many people die.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know, maybe I felt like I was an idiot. I was like, the joke was on me. Like, it's like the haha gotcha, right? Like,
you see behind the curtain, and I've had that experience. I tell people when I talk about leadership, the best leaders I ever worked with were in the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
And the worst leaders that I ever worked with were in the SEAL teams.
Yeah.
It's easy to confuse occupation and character.
Yes.
And there's the same struggles in the teams. Like, and that's one thing I actually go out of my way to try to dispel misconceptions. Like, people think SEALs are, it's a valley of magical unicorns and there's rainbows and gumdrops are falling from the sky. Like, no. The honor man of my buds class is in prison for luring a couple back to his house, murdering them, and chopping them up with a Spyderco. And then he went and tried to rob a Hooters and take their T-shirts. That last part, I'm still a little bit weirded out by.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was a sociopath, so the first part makes a little bit more sense.
Makes sense.
But he's the honor man of my buds class.
Yeah.
Not very honorable.
No.
I've seen it all. I've seen theft from your brothers, stealing, cowardice. Like, you see it all, and you got to learn. Yeah, like, that's why I wanted, when I stayed in, that's why I wanted to switch from being an enlisted guy to an officer. I was kind of stalled out on the enlisted ranks, and I knew I wanted to stay, but if I was going to stay, I wanted to be in a place where I could have an impact, and that's why I chose the route that I did. It's tough. People look at the military and they think it's all stand-up characters and individuals. It is not. 100% it is not. And it's important, and I tell people, take every military member and every veteran you meet as an individual data point.
Don't wrap us all around them.
Correct. Yeah. And don't buy into any of the crap. Take each person for what they're worth, and if they're giving you a bad vibe, that's okay. Limit your exposure and avoid that, because I get it, man. I was curious to
that was kind of, so I got out, and I think the hardest part for me getting out was just the fact that it wasn't, I lived my job. Like, it was like, this is going to be the rest of my life. Mm. And
because you joined right out of high school.
I did, 17.
Yep, same here.
And I became one of the youngest snipers in the Marine Corps.
Yep.
Graduated sniper school. Actually, I went to school with a couple snipers. Sakala. I don't know if you ever know a guy named Sakala or a guy.
Yeah, did you go through in Camp Pendleton?
Siki. No, where he was from. He was out in Hawaii.
Okay. What sniper school did you go through though?
Hawaii.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because we used to, when the billets were full, we would send guys. We've had guys go to Army sniper course, and I know for a fact Pendleton. I didn't know about the Hawaii one. I know guys went to Pendleton.
Yeah, and so I just. But after that day, there was no way I was going to get treated the same. So I got out, and it's just the brotherhood, like the purpose, the sense of purpose, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the fact that you have to, getting out. Like, if anybody's listening, getting out, the first thing you have to be able to understand and realize is you will never have a purpose as great as you had while serving the nation. It's just, go ahead and get that out of your mindset of trying to find it. You will never have a greater purpose than to serve the United States of America. There's no greater there's no greater job or greater fulfillment than being able to serve your country. So you got to find what's second best. You know what I mean? And that's just the reality of it. And I think for me to come to that grips was, a tough one.
How'd you finally come to grips with it?
I had a lot of hard times, man. A lot of people think I got out, got the medal, life was easy. Like they think that's how it goes, and it wasn't.
You were out for a good piece before you got it, though,
year
right?
and a half, I think.
Okay, yeah.
So about 18 months, and I was a train wreck.
Yeah.
I mean, a train wreck. And then I got the medal, and it made it even worse.
Yeah. I sat down with Brian Shontosh, awesome dude.
Yeah.
Navy Cross recipient, Marine Corps officer, stud. Basically ran through in a trench in Iraq and smoked everyone.
Yeah.
Just write, comic books about this dude.
Yeah.
And I've known him longer, and I know more about what had happened with him. But and I asked him very specifically if he ever felt like he. I don't want to use the word owned, but if the awarding of that medal, he felt like tied to it. It always bouncing back. You know what I mean? Like it always is constantly there. Like, God, okay, I don't want to do this, but I have to because of this award or this medal. He said he struggles with it too. It's
that medal ruined my life.
Wow. Okay.
I'll tell you right now, the Medal of Honor ruined my life. The most miserable thing in my life is that Medal of Honor. I'm not a guy who wanted the spotlight.
Yeah.
It wasn't my thing. I'm a simple kind of guy. I hate the medal. I don't go to the Medal of Honor. I'm not part of the Medal of Honor Society. I mean, I don't do anything with them. I don't wear the medal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anything against it, right? Like,
yeah.
But people are like, why don't you wear your medal? And it's like, well, I don't know. Do you go out and wear your medals?
No.
Well,
I don't even know where they are.
Okay, so why would I? Because, it doesn't. I'm not a Medal of Honor recipient. I'm a United States Marine that received the Medal of Honor.
Yeah.
That medal doesn't define me. You know what I mean? And I think that's where people go so wrong.
Well, I think it's easy. There's not that many people who have it, right? And I know a couple, and I won't older generation.
Yeah.
And I won't say any names.
Yeah, of course.
But the dude is defined by it.
They are.
And it's like it's when people see him, they see the medal.
Yeah.
If they don't see him, and it's like the guy's on the circuit, he just goes and he's boozing. You know what I mean? And
boozing.
Dude, and all he does is he goes and just gets blackout drunk and makes an ass of himself in the SEAL community. It's like, let's just drag everybody through the mud. Let's just drag an entire community. Because most people don't, they're like, I forget, like most people, there's not that many SEALs. So people are like, oh, I've never met one. Well, if you have a bad experience with one, it's very easy to think that they all suck. And some of them do.
So, yeah.
But it's that one guy it has to be an incredibly heavy burden to carry.
I'll tell you that one of the most depressing times after getting the medal, I went to like the first convention that right after I got it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a thing to do, right? I mean,
is that just a gathering largely of recipients?
Yeah. So they go and it's kind of like a drinking deal, right? I don't know. It's like a hangout. It's like a convention or something like that. So it's a convention. It was in Louisville, and I went to it, and I left there so depressed, man. And it wasn't like, I love those guys. They're. Let me tell you this up front. Those guys are heroes. I mean, those guys, they're the guys that I listen to in boot camp about their heroic stories, right? So let me get that off the chest,
for sure,
right? But man, I went in there and I left, and I just see all these guys just walking around with these medals, and just like this medal that they got 60 years ago. And I left her so down because I'm like, so this is it for me. At 23 years old, this is the most I'm going to accomplish. This is the biggest thing I'm going to accomplish. So for the rest of my life, I'm never going to accomplish anything bigger. I'm going to be known as something that I did at 23 years old.
A failure.
Which in my way, the other piece of it, yeah, exactly. I mean, Knives hears me talk about it all the time. And to me, the other piece of it is that I feel like that every time I put that medal around my neck, it's to show the world how big of a failure I am. And you know, and that's just like, you know, it's a reminder of the worst day of my life. The very worst day of my life. You know what I mean? And there's nothing good. There's nothing for me that's good because the Medal of Honor. For Dakota personally, there's nothing good for the Medal of Honor in my life. Now, the only thing I will say it does for me is it allows me the credibility to go in and speak to groups like I did today, right?
Yeah, it gives you that platform.
It gives me a platform to be able to help people.
Yeah.
But for me personally, it doesn't do anything good for me.
Yeah, it's I mean, damn, dude, I certainly didn't expect to hear you say that, but
I hate it. Let me just say this up front. I hate that fucking medal. Honestly, it's at my house, it's in my daughter's toy chest because she wears it with dress up.
I mean, first, that's a pretty strong dad move. I'm just going to say that there because that's a unique piece of flair.
Yeah. Okay, you got it right out. Yeah.
So she's solid, but it's, you know, it was funny. I was talking to a guy who I hadn't seen in probably 15 years today, and we were talking. He'd just been out for 3 years, and I always ask guys like, "Hey, man, how are you liking being out?" And because there's guys who really struggle, and the best thing that happened to me in my career was the night I got shot. Because I was figuratively or metaphorically and literally laying flat on my back, questioning whether I was going to live for the next 5 minutes, then into the hospital, doing the whole medevac thing, getting home, and questioning whether or not I was going to be able to continue doing my job. Yeah. And it allowed me to lift my head up and look around a little bit and start thinking about what's next. And without that, I think I would have struggled even more because I do see a lot of guys who are like, it's cool. The ribbons are like the 1 cent piece of ribbon and a 5 cent piece of metal of something that happened in the past.
Yeah.
And you can't live in the past.
No.
And that would, to me, it literally was like, it took me a long time. I really struggled. I was playing around with my favorite recipes of prescription pills and rums.
Oh man,
rums were the preferred washdown for the
meds. Yeah. The preferred.
As Captain Morgan, I think I paid the light bill at whatever company owns Captain Morgan for a couple months. But at the end of that, like I knew it was going to come to an end, and I knew I had to do something else and try to become something else. And I don't know, man. From an outside perspective, I'd never met you before. Sitting down today, I mean. Let that thing drive you, dude. Don't hate it. Let it burn that fire, so it's not going to be what defines you.
And I have started using, like, I'm not going to say using it, but I have let it drive more to be able to, just like today, you know, be able to go talk to the first responders that were, out here in Las Vegas that were there October 1st and be able to talk to them. So, I have let it do that some, right? But, I always call it the Uncle Rico syndrome, and I seen it. I think the military is probably one of the worst about it. Of everybody, like a lot of people, justify who they are today by their actions in the past.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I've been to combat. What have you done?
Yeah. Oh, I know. I can go get loaded and do what I want because this is who I was a decade ago.
Exactly.
No.
I like the one I hate so much, and this is what helped me after I got out. I had to get rid of this chip on my shoulder. Was I served this country? It owes me.
Yeah, I tell people.
It doesn't owe you shit.
Well, here's the deal: military service is a privilege.
Oh.
It's and when you get out of it, I have two things. One is. Then your next service should begin because you can still serve your country without being in uniform.
Absolutely.
And that comes through family and community and making an impact in those areas. But I always tell guys and gals, don't think that anybody owes you anything. There is the stereotype of the veteran that is out there that truly embodies the exact opposite of that, that does want a handout. And I would say that they're definitely the minority.
Oh, 100%.
But unfortunately, as always, the vocal or more visible minority paints the majority.
Yes, sir.
But, I mean, there's some people out there who think like, yep, I did my time, now you need to serve me. It's like, no, man,
No.
you did your time. Now figure out how you're going to continue to serve.
Yeah. It ain't over.
Yeah.
It's not. It's your contract might be over.
Yeah.
But your service better continue.
I actually feel obligated. I was talking, my buddy's name is Bill, and again, saw him today, and he's up in Idaho teaching and like he's teaching mindset and physical skills and outside, and I feel obligated because of the people that I was so fortunate to be surrounded by. I feel obligated to pass on those lessons.
Man, every time I get down, and I do. I'll be honest with you, I still struggle.
Yeah.
Every time I get down, man, like I look at my wrist, and I got 4 names right there that would give anything. They would switch any bad scenario I'm in to have one more day on earth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's that's where I had to switch it. I mean, so long. I got out and I played the victim for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through this, blah, blah, blah. The excuse, right?
Yeah.
And, you can either, the day that you become the victim is the day that you allow yourself to become the victim.
And it's all between the ears, man.
It is. It really, I can either use this as my excuse and my crutch, or I can use it as the fuel to go out and the passion to do better.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it's incredible.
It is. I'll be honest, man. I'm blown away that you're talking about the award in the terms that you are. But I'm glad that you are in the same token. It's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I mean, it was one day of my life.
Yeah, it's exactly what Tosh said.
It's one day of my life. So what do I do to is the rest of my life justified for me to be an asshole, for me not to contribute anything?
Some would say yes.
Well,
and those would be the ones that are in the category of wrong.
And we call those people wrong. Yeah, exactly.
For sure, man.
No, I mean, it's just one of those deals that, like, I think that every day you have a clean slate. Every day you wake up with a clean slate, and when you go to bed that night, so whatever it is, like, about your life that that's important to you, like being a father, being a husband, being a whatever it is, right? I mean, maybe it's a service member, blah blah blah, whatever. But at night when you go to bed, you look in the mirror and what did you earn that day to have that title? Like, you being a husband, I mean, your wife allows you to have that title.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's an honorable title. You being a father, is it a title, or were you a real father?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, like that's an honor. I mean, for me to be a veteran, to me to be a Marine, it's my honor to be allowed to have that title.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you to be a SEAL, but what did you do today to earn that title?
Yeah.
Do you still live the ethos, right? Do you still live that way of honor? You know what I mean? Like, you can't just wear the T-shirt and not still live that way of life and have the title.
I wish more people thought that way. I agree with you 100%.
But those people know who they are.
I think at the end of the day they do. In their deepest, darkest moments, I do believe that those people know exactly who they are.
When they go to bed at night and look in the mirror.
Which is weird. You shouldn't do that.
Well, I brush my teeth before I go to bed. You don't? You don't brush your teeth before you go to bed?
I do, but I don't know if I'm like, look in the mirror like, how we doing? All right, good. Let's go to bed.
You don't like look in the mirror and say, hey, man, you want to go to bed with me?
Yeah. But I tell you what, man, you got a great platform. Because you can do, like, it's the same thing we were talking about. Like, because of my background, organizations will invite me in, right? Yeah. And that's your leverage to open the door and teach and explain to them the power of leadership, or whatever the topic may be, to take those lessons that honor the names on your wrist, you know what I mean, and drive it forward. It's cool, man. It's I hope one day you don't hate that metal, though. I hope one day it sits differently with you, because it's an amazing thing, man. Like, that's all you can say. It's an amazing thing that happened.
Man, I just have one goal in life. And it's that the day I die, when they're up there, like, reading my eulogy, it says, Dakota, he was this. Oh, and also he was a Medal of Honor recipient.
Yeah. I I actively try to have people be surprised when they find out I was in the military. They're like, "What? You were in the military?" Like, yeah, I was in the past.
Yeah.
Now we're on uncharted territory.
Yeah, what's next?
I don't know.
Right, what's next? So
I'm on a road though. I just don't know where it's going.
So tell me, like, so you're trying. So what's your big goal right now?
Well, we just moved,
Yeah.
so we just kind of finished a pretty large goal, which was to get out of California. Love California for a variety of reasons. I was born and raised there. Hate California for a variety of reasons. My wife was born in Montana, and it's funny. I have yet to meet somebody who was either born in Montana or spent a lot of time there that isn't constantly trying to find a way to go back. Yeah. They're just like, we need to go back at some point. And I get it now. I lived there when I was very young in Missoula. I remembered it snowed.
Yeah.
That's the limit of my time. So we had made a goal, and we got there this summer. We crossed the border July 1st. So that was a huge goal. At a professional level, I'm trying to do more with less and try to be more impactful and spend less time away from the family. And I'm trying to focus more on being there and being dad. Because I agree with you. Father is a great title, but you better earn that thing every day.
Oh, you have to earn it.
And again, I was talking with Bill again today. It's in the military. I thought my job I thought it was important. But if you think about it, on a battlefield, you're limited to the effective range of your round. That's the impact you have. With my kids, I don't know if there is an effective range. I mean, we're talking about literally potentially making the world better. One day at a time, one generation at a time, such more impact. And I feel, again, obligated is the word that I feel like I have to do it right. I don't want to mess them up. I want their lives to make mine look like a joke.
Yeah.
And like, it's that's my main goal right now, is to try to figure out ways. So there's obviously a financial aspect of that, and it's like, I don't know.
I get you. It's a hard balance.
It is, because people hit you up and it's like, all right, I want to be able to, because I also want to do cool things with it.
Well, and also, you inspire a lot of people.
I don't know about that.
You inspire a lot of people. No, you do. With what you do, man, it's like, it's badass. It's badass what you do, and it's inspiring and it's empowering of, not just your leadership, but by how you live your life.
Yeah.
And so, I'm telling you, you're changing the world. You're out there.
I'm trying. I want to make a difference. Like, when I was younger, people were like, why'd you want to be a SEAL? And I knew I wanted to be a SEAL since I was 11, and that's atypical for most people to hear. But that was such a common narrative in the teams. The dude next to me was like, yeah, me too. But I was when I was 10. You suck. I'm like, because of course it's got to be measuring something at every time,
whether it's your hair
or whatever it may be. Yeah,
how much product you have,
for sure. I didn't have the vocabulary or really maturity to understand why, but I think I wanted to do the job. I just want to do something that matters and makes a difference.
And makes the world a better place.
I think so, yeah. And it's there's a lot of paths to get there, and there's a lot of things. Everybody has a role in that, and I think that's lost a lot of the time. Like, I work 9 to 5. What can I possibly do?
I think everybody matters.
Yeah,
everybody matters in this cog of this wheel called life. Everybody matters.
Well, and I'll go back to keeping your world big versus small. People say, I work 9 to 5. There's not much I can do. I'm like, wrong. Think small. Think about your house. If you're not married and you don't have kids, that's cool. Do something awesome for your neighbor. Do something great for your community. Small, that will have a macro ripple, right? The butterfly effect, or however you want to talk it. But it's weird. Sometimes I feel stupid talking about that stuff because it sounds very grandiose. Like, whoa, dude, are you gonna start chanting or like get some weird salt crystals out, or like,
yeah.
But it's true. It's what I believe in. And if the vehicle, I think, to change people's mind on those topics is leadership. And that's why I think you have such a great platform, because of your background, because people will listen to you.
Yeah.
And that's why I hope that one day it's not something that you hate. It's something that you're like, you know what, because obviously it was hell, right? You lived through hell, and you came out on the other side, and other people were not able to come out on the other side. And I know that burden, and I know how that can weigh. But hopefully one day you can look on that as, maybe you got through that for a reason, so you could make the difference that you with the platform that you have to do the things that you want to do.
That's all you can do.
I think so.
That's all you can do.
That's it for this week. Thank you all for listening. Got some cool people coming up to be talking to in the very near future. As always, I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the iTunes reviews, the emails that are sent. Again, I don't always get back, but I get back to every single one that I possibly can. Appreciate the feedback. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. If you got some, send it my way. And thank you to everybody who's been buying the hats and the t-shirts. I think we talked about it a little bit in this podcast, but I never had any intention or desire to do those things, and I just followed the advice of people who are far smarter than myself, and it's been amazing to see the feedback. So thank you, everybody.